And welcome in, everybody. Happy Monday evening to everybody out there. Hope it was a good and productive Monday for you all. Thanks for joining tonight. My name is Benjamin Kennedy. This is Pucks from the Pine Tree Pod. Getting ready for tip off of the Celtics and Dallas Mavericks. Game five. Got it over here. So if I abruptly turn away from the camera, I do apologize. Uh, little bit of a quicker video today, but a little bit of news coming out of the NHL on a couple of items. And we do have the NHL draft coming up on June 28th. So I wanted to take a little bit of a dive, not a deep dive, but a little bit of a dive into some of the potential UMaine prospects that either may get looked at in the draft or you might see as rookie free agents down the road. Uh, the NHL did today announce preseason schedules, I think, for most teams. Going to focus here on the Bruins. We do have 7 game schedule for the preseason starting September 22nd and going to October 5th. Game of note, they will be playing in Quebec City on October 3rd versus the LA Kings. I think that will be a really fun place to go see a game. I would love to see the NHL back in Quebec City. I think that would just be phenomenal. Uh, they've been talked about, a lot of discussion about just not enough, corporate sponsorship type money in that city. Um, but anyway, just excited to have some dates to put on the calendar. Start my countdown now, right? So that should be fun. Coaching news today. This one wasn't a surprise. Columbus Blue Jackets parting ways with their first year head coach, Pascal Vincent. Uh, he took over for Mike Babcock in September after just a horrendous hire by Columbus. Um, coached Columbus to a 27-43-12 record. So obviously not great results. The team really wasn't constructed to win this year. We know that. Young roster. And when you're a coach like that and you're sitting on the bench as an assistant, head coach gets fired in September, there's not a whole lot you can do, especially with a team that doesn't have a ton of veterans, not a ton of great leadership. Um, so you feel bad for Vincent. It's his first time as a head coach. I think there was some learnings throughout the year. You heard some grumblings about maybe he was overcoaching the team a little bit, maybe being a little too harsh or too extreme with some of the veteran guys. But live and learn. Hopefully, he'll get another opportunity. And as these head coaches change, a lot of those benches change as well. So, given Vincent's background, I'm sure he'll have an opportunity to find his way onto another team, onto another bench. Um, like I said, not a surprise. Don Waddell, the new GM president, steps in, coming from Carolina. Most of the time, these guys want to put their own signature on the team and put their own head coach there behind the bench. So no surprise. I'll be curious to see the only job open right now in the NHL who gets that role. Um, I think that there's a handful of guys out there. Tom McClellan comes to mind. I think he is would be my first phone call. I think they would have to set an expectation though, given the fact this team is rebuilding. What's the plan? Are we trying to be back in the playoffs in 2 years? Is this more of a 5 year type of thing? I mean, some of these veteran coaches may not want to stick around for that long for a full rebuild, but we'll see. We'll be curious to see what happens there. And um, again, good luck to Pascal Vincent. Hopefully, he'll find his way onto another bench soon. We do have, starting June 28th and 29th, the NHL draft coming up in Vegas. Uh, always an exciting time, kind of right after the NHL final. You have that, then you jump right into free agency July 1. So even though there's no games going on, tons of activity for the NHL coming right up here. BU's Macklin Celebrini would be the clear cut number one draft pick this year, going to San Jose. Um, a little bit, not quite as much, buzz as Connor Bedard had a year ago, but still a wildly talented player, and I think will eventually be a very, very good pro. Little 50-50 on whether he signs right away or not. He does have that option to go back to BU for another year. I think it just comes down to where he and his people think his best development will come from. Will it be on a a top 5 type NCAA team or on a really bad San Jose team in the NHL level. Um, we'll see what happens, but he'll clearly be the number 1 draft pick. His dad actually works for the Golden State Warriors, not too far away, so, be a little bit of a homecoming there, for Macklin, so good on him. Uh, Wanted yeah, spent a little bit of time today just looking over the UMaine roster. Always curious to see if we get any of our Black Bears into the league. We have a handful of them right now. Longberg for Florida's there. Of course, we know Jeremy Swayman is there. We have, of course, Bradley Nadeau, who just signed with Carolina. Um, Amongst a few others, floating around. I think Hutton for Vegas was a UMaine guy, so there's a few. Gustav Nyquist, still in the league. I think he played for Nashville this year. So, it's always fun to kinda take a look and see what UMaine has coming down the pipeline. Um, Couple of names I'm just gonna call out that we may wanna keep an eye on, in the draft. Probably not top rounds, but maybe later in the draft. And I'm gonna butcher this guy's name, so I do apologize, but one of their starting goaltenders, Borja Albin, a Swedish player. He's a 6'1", 190-pound, 20-year-old goaltender. He is ranked 22nd in the NHL Central Scouting for goalies, so he is up there on that list. Um, Came out of Sweden, played 18 games for the team this year, 2.01 goals against average, and a 916 save percentage was 10-6-1. I could see him back into the draft, a good kind of goalie prospect. Maine certainly has a pedigree with goaltenders. We know, going back to Gar Snow and number of other names right up here to Jeremy Swayman. So could be interesting. I could see him maybe getting drafted late, not signing, coming back here to UMaine and see where it goes. Another name that's going to ring a bell, Joshua Nadeau, Bradley's brother, 5'8", 159-pound, 20-year-old. Did play 37 games this year. Was a little overshadowed by Bradley. Of course, we knew he would be, but 37 games, 18 goals, 27 assists for 45 points. So put up a very good year for himself and did average 1.21 points per game. So pretty impressive in what's a very, very tough Hockey East. One note on Josh is that he did get invited to the Montreal Canadiens developmental camp this summer. So clearly he's on the radar with Montreal. I looked him up. I didn't see him really listed on any mock drafts, so he could be a player that could go really late, or I think certainly next year if he doesn't get taken this year, will be should be on some boards. Those were really the only two names that really stood out in terms of draft potential. Ben Barr's doing a really good job rebuilding this program, getting names back out, uh, up there to make them a real competitive team. I'm gonna just throw 2 or 3 other names, at you guys, though, as just names to keep in mind, names that may pop up in other professional hockey leagues. A lot of these guys, when they don't get drafted, if they wanna keep playing, maybe they go to Europe, maybe they can sign a professional contract with the East Coast Hockey League, and some of these guys do end up making, a nice career for themselves, whether it be in the AHL or, like I said, overseas. Um, One name here, Harrison Scott, forward, 6 foot, 185-pound, 23-year-old. First year at UMO this year, did play at Bentley University the prior 2 years and did take quite a jump in his production. Through 37 games this year, he had 15 goals, 12 assists for 27 points. And the prior 2 years, he only had 11 points and 15 points, respectively. So quite a nice jump there for him. I think more impressive is in the faceoff circle. He had double-digit faceoff wins in 27 games this year and did finish second in Hockey East with 396 faceoff wins. So that's something you're always looking at if you're an NHL, scout, NHL team, looking for that center depth, long-term developmental type of guys. So we'll see. Again, not really on any boards right now, but give him another year. Yeah, we'll see what happens. And again, just a couple other names to keep in mind, for down the road, guys like I said, you might see, playing East Coast League or something like that. But Captain David Brazil, and again, I may have mispronounced that name. 6'4" defenseman, 24 years old this year. He just finished his third year in the program. Uh, Ben Poisson, forward, 6'1", 24-year-old. He was an alternate captain over the last 2 years in his graduate school student year this year. And then Leiden Breen, 5'9", 23, also had the captain C on his chest this year. Um, Again, names that aren't ringing the bells for any NHL scouts, but names that you may see, in other professional leagues. So here's to that. This will be the last year the NHL is holding their draft in the capacity that they do. I know there's a lot of chat on NHL radio about it this year. The drafts going forward after this year are going to start looking a lot more like what you see with the NFL. Right now with the NHL, the whole team is there, and when they make their draft pick, 18, 20 people come up on stage. All the executives are all up there. The NHL has always loved that. It kind of does drive me batty. It's like, just just make the pick. Come, just make the pick. Let's get on with it. But it is at the Sphere in Vegas, so it should be a great show. Looking forward to seeing what happens. Looking forward to seeing maybe if the Bruins don't trade back into the first round. Feels like we haven't had a first round draft pick in, I mean, I don't know, the Lincoln administration. Not really sure. Been a while. Been a while. But guys, that is it for tonight. Real quick one. I'm going to get back here to this NBA Finals, and I hope you all just have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.